Hello everyone. I'm going to read the story, The Bears Who Stayed Indoors. This is a great favourite of mine, and actually the book's getting very old. I've had to sellotape it up, so let's hear it. Once, on a rainy day, there were 4 small bears in bed. They were called William, Andrew, Charles and John. Robert had already got up to bring the others a cup of tea. Under the bed was a dog whose name was Fred. Soon all the bears were in the bathroom. William gave his teeth a specially hard brush. He brushed his bottom teeth up and his top teeth down, and sideways to the left and sideways to the right. I'm hungry, thought William. It must be time for breakfast. William ate grapefruit, bacon, scrambled eggs, butter toast and marmalade for breakfast. Charles ate hardly anything at all, for he was reading the cereal packet. On the packet was a picture of a spacesuit. "Oh, how I would love to have a spacesuit," he said. "Wouldn't you, Andrew?" "Yes," said Andrew. "There's only one thing to do. We shall have to make some spacesuits." But first they had to do the housework. Andrew shook out the mop, Charles brought in the post, Robert beat the rugs, John cleaned the windows. William was too full of breakfast to do anything much. "Oh, it's hard to make the bed," he said. "I can hardly bend over at all." The housework was quickly done. "We must wear our spacesuits out of doors," said Andrew. And he put one boot on, but it was raining hard. The others looked rather doubtfully. There wasn't a bear in sight. "Everyone else is staying indoors today," said William. "We could wear our spacesuits indoors," said Andrew. "Indoors," agreed Robert, Charles and John. Fred just wagged his tail. John painted a yellow moon on a black piece of paper so they could go to the moon indoors. William filled a picnic basket. "Oh, just in case we get hungry going up to the moon," he explained. John got the camera ready to take moon pictures. Charles got ready to send messages. "Blast off!" yelled Robert from down below. Fred didn't know if he wanted to go, but he went. Then down they came again, one by one. Fred did not like going to the moon, and he jumped right out of the spaceship. "I've had enough too," said Robert. The ropes were too tight round his middle. Besides, he couldn't help noticing that someone had already eaten most of the picnic. Then it was time to tidy up. John tidied up the moon, Robert tidied up the camera, William and Andrew tidied up the spaceship. Charles looked through the telescope, and then William's stomach began to growl. "My stomach is thinking about supper," he said. William went straight to the kitchen. He took out the spoons, bowls, pots, pans, eggs, milk, sugar, flour, and lots of other things to make some little moon cakes for supper. The other bears helped, and Charles found the recipe. It told exactly how to make the most delicious moon cakes. "I'm going to be the waiter," said Andrew, and he put a plate of moon cakes on the table. "I like honey on my moon cakes," said William. Charles wasn't very hungry at all. "I'd rather read," he said. The others were too busy to say anything. Soon there were 5 sticky little bears round the table, and not a single mooncake left. William was still hungry and went straight to the biscuit tin. The other bears tidied up the kitchen, except for Charles, who had found an interesting book. Fred was watching the tin of dog food on the counter. He hoped someone would remember that he hadn't had his supper yet. When everything was tidy and Fred had had his supper, they went back into the living room. Charles found an even more interesting book. John and Fred watched television. Fred always liked watching television. And the others played cards. William asked, "Isn't it nearly time?" "Time for what?" said the others. "Time for bed," said William. And soon it was time for bed. Oh, what bubbles! Oh, what a bath! There was so much steam. "I could make a picture on the mirror," said John. "What is steam?" asked Robert. "Don't know," said Charles. "I'll look it up tomorrow." William was gargling with his peppermint-flavoured mouthwash. It's funny, he thought. Gargling always makes me hungry. The bears hopped into bed. "This is the most interesting book I've read all day," said Charles. "We've forgotten to do our exercises," said John, who was finishing his bed picture. "We can do them tomorrow," said Charles. The other bears didn't say a word, for they were fast asleep, and so was Fred.